Welcome to another edition of Parenting Matters with McCracken. We've been talking about how to help your kids deal with their feelings and how to help your teens deal with their feelings. This is the second episode of how to help your teens deal with their feelings. We've been referencing Faber and Maslach's books, How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk, How to Talk So Teens Will Listen, and How to Listen So Teens Will Talk. There should be a link underneath this video taking you to that book. Highly encourage you to get it yourself. It's easy to read, good material, comics that illustrate the points, summaries at the end of every chapter, full of great stories of how these principles have worked in different people's lives. Highly recommend it. It was a life changer for me and for my wife in terms of parenting. And today we're going to discuss how to help your kids deal with their feelings. And the point today is, instead of logic and explanations, give them their wishes and fantasy. Here's an example that they give in their book with the comic section in the middle. And it's a teenage girl talking to her dad while he's washing the car. And she says, "Dad, when are you going to teach me to drive?" And he says, "I told you when you're old enough." And she says, "I'm 14. And he says, "Exactly, which means you're too young to get a learner's permit." And she says, "Kim's father is teaching her." And the father says, "Kim is 15. And the girl says, "But her father started teaching her when she was younger." And the father says, "He's not me." Now, all of that is based on truth. It's based on logic, but that's not always the most helpful way to build bridges of relationship and to validate somebody's feelings. So the point here is not that you lie or that you avoid the truth and the facts. The point here is that sometimes when you're not able to fulfill the wishes of your teen, give them what they want in fantasy. Here's another example with the same situation. The girl comes to her father and says, "Dad, when are you going to teach me to drive?" And he says, "Sounds like you can't wait to get started." And she says, "Kim's father taught her when she was 14. And the father says, "And you wish I didn't take the age requirement so seriously." She says, "That's right." He said, "If you had your way, you'd have your learner's permit right now." And she says, "No, I'd have my driver's license right now." And the father says, "Then you could take me for a ride." Now, some people might say, that's just avoiding the issue. What is the real issue here? Is the real issue about getting a driver's license, or is the real issue about wishing she was able to drive now, when in fact she knows that she's too young to be able to do that now? When we give our children or even our teens what they can't have, in reality, let me rephrase that. When we're not able to give our children what they want, the reality is we can't do it for some reason, then giving them what they're wishing for in fantasy is a way that we can keep the bridge between us intact, validate their feelings, and move on. Works for kids, it works for teens, and sometimes it works for adults too, because validating feelings and empathizing with what somebody is wishing for are signs of relational respect. And isn't that something that we all want?